Polynomials test review part 2. In this video we're going to be covering the long division and synthetic division practice problems. It's been a while since we've covered these problems, so I figured it'd be a good time to make a video going over kind of the steps involved because it is a tedious process. But the good news is it's a very repetitive process. So once you sort of start to get it down, then you really kind of get it down. You just be familiar and ready to go by the time Thursday comes around, so we can be ready to answer these on our actual test. Now I'm going to do 2 of the long division questions and maybe 2 of the synthetic division ones as well. I'll leave the rest for you. This is more of just an explanation video to kind of get you started. So I apologize for the bad handwriting on the right side of the screen in blue. When you write with a very narrow pencil, it gets very pixely and it makes it very difficult to write. But anyway, those are the rules that I'll kind of walk you through. You have those same things written on your paper. I wanted to have them on my board to use as well, and now I have my scratch work as well. But let's begin the problem by first knowing how to set up the problem. So to set up this problem, we're going to take the 2x plus 3 that we're dividing by, and we're going to have that kind of out in front here. And then underneath our division bar, if you want to call it that, will be the 2x to the third plus 7x squared minus 4x and then plus 3. Alright, so now what we're going to do is follow our steps that I've outlined on the side. Step 1, divide. We're going to take the first term from the inside and divide it by the first term from the outside. So in this case, it's going to be the 2x third, which is the first term on the inside, divided by the first term on the outside, which is 2x. Alright, and I'm going to put that over my scratch work just to keep things nice and clean. So 2x to the third divided by 2x, that's going to be x squared. Alright, and that solution, that result, that x squared is going to go, let's put it on top of the, I should have left a little more room, but actually I think I can move it. Hold on, give me a second. Let me play around with this. Can I move this? Yes, I can. Alright. So, x squared goes up on top. Alright, now we're going to take that x squared, move it, use it as part of step 2. Step 2 is to multiply this x squared that we just get to the polynomial that's on the outside, which in this case is 2x plus 3. Okay, that's the polynomial that's outside, that's over here. That's what we're multiplying it with. So when you multiply those together, you're going to get, let's see, x squared times 2x would be 2x to the third, and then x squared times 3 is 3x squared. Now this product, this is going to go underneath the problem, underneath their corresponding like terms. So 2x to the third here, and then plus 3x squared here. Alright, now step 3 is subtract. So we're going to subtract those terms from their corresponding terms. And what happens, and I've mentioned this in blue on the right side as well, is that the first terms always cancel out. They should always be the same. And the second term, you're subtracting a 3, because we are subtracting that. So what I usually do is just change the sign here. Yes, it's plus 3, but we're subtracting it, so think of it more as a minus 3. So 7 minus 3 will become 4x squared. Alright, step 4 is bring down the next term, which is bring down the minus 4x, and then repeat this process. Start from the very beginning again with division. Division. Divide the first term on the inside, which is now the 4x squared, divided by the first term on the outside, which is still 2x. When you do that, you'll get 2x as the result, and you're going to put that 2x just where we put the x squared previously, up on top. And just like we did with the x squared previously, we're going to take this 2x, and we're going to use it in step 2, which is to multiply it to the polynomial up front, which in this case is still 2x plus 3. And when you multiply, you distribute here, we'll get 4x squared, and then 2x times 3 is going to be 6x. We're going to take this product, just like we took the product previously, and put it underneath our equation. So, or underneath the problem, we have 4x squared plus 6x. So step 3 is we're going to subtract. So we're going to subtract the first terms will cancel. They should always cancel. And the second 2 terms, we're subtracting 6. So change the sign here and make it be more of a minus 6. And negative 4 minus 6 is going to be negative 10x. And then step 4, bring down the next term to plus 3. So now, we're going to start back over again with our division. We're going to take the first term on the inside, which is now negative 10x, and divide it by the first term on the outside, but still 2x. And that's going to be a negative 5. The x's cancel, but negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Just like previously, we're going to put that negative 5 on top as part of my answer. We're going to take this negative 5 and use it in step 2. Negative 5, we're going to multiply it to 2x plus 3, which is, again, the polynomial on the outside. And negative 5 times 2x will be negative 10x. Negative 5 times 3 will be negative 15. So now we're going to take that and we're going to put it underneath the problem, minus 10x minus 15. And get ready for step 3, which is subtract. So the first terms will always cancel out. And then subtracting a negative 15 really makes that a positive 15. So consider that to be plus. Remember, you're always changing that sign for that term functionally. So 3 plus 15 is really 18. All right, there's no other terms to bring down, so this marks my remainder. So all I have left to do is write my answer. My answer is sitting up here on top, and it's part of my remainder as well. So it's going to be x squared plus 2x minus 5, and then the remainder. So it's positive 18, so plus 18 over 2x plus 3. You always write the remainder as a fraction, and it's always going to be over whatever that polynomial is up front. All right, so there's our final answer. Now, let me just highlight a few things to point out that I feel is important. So notice for each of these, the x squareds, the thing that we got from dividing, the x squared, the 2x, and the negative 5, all of those went right up here. And they're also, all of them were used in the next step when we divided. Or I'm sorry, when you multiplied. And in that step, you multiply it every single time to the 2x plus 3. And also pay attention to that product, the 2x to the third plus 3x squared, that went in the problem. The product's 4x squared plus 6x, that went in the problem. And the negative 10x minus 15, that also went in the problem when you subtracted. So notice everything kind of repeating itself. It's very repetitive. It's the same 4 steps over and over again. And the more you get used to this, the more you practice it, the better you become, I think. It just really just takes a little bit of practice and a lot of studying. All right, so unfortunately, I have to erase everything I've just done because I can't move with all of that there to work out number 2. But you have it on your paper. Keep in mind, I still have those notes that are in blue. I just won't have them written down on the slide anymore. All right, but I do want to work out just number 2. All right, just seeing one more problem can't hurt, right? So let me put my little scratch work on the side over here. Hold on. There we go. All right, so my scratch work, let's do this in red. My scratch work over here. There we go. I like to just keep myself organized, so put all the junky material out of the way of the problem. So let's set up the problem. Just like the one before, the 3x plus 4, that's what our divisor is. That's what we're going to put out front. And then underneath the division bar, we'll put the 3x to the third plus 10x squared minus x and then plus 1. Okay, so now start with step 1. Step 1 is divide. You always divide the first term on the inside, which in this case is 3x to the third, and divide it by the first term on the outside, which is 3x. And when you do that, we're going to get x squared. And that x squared goes on top of the problem. Up here, it's going to be part of my answer. But I also need to use it for step 2. I'm going to take this x squared, I'm going to multiply it to the polynomial out front, which in this case is 3x plus 4. So when you distribute, you'll get 3x to the third plus 4x squared. All right, now that product will go back in my problem. It'll go underneath the problem, 3x to the third plus 4x squared. But the next step is very important, and that's the subtraction step. So when you subtract, you're subtracting both of these. The first terms cancel, and because we're subtracting 4, I like to change this to a minus 4. That helps me out a little bit. So really it's 10 minus 4, which is going to be 6x squared. Step 4 is bring down the next term. So now repeat the process with division. Take the first term on the inside, which is now 6x squared, and divide it by the first term on the outside, which is 3x, not 2x. I only made that mistake to see if you're paying attention. All right, what we're going to have, 6 divided by 3 is 2. We'll have an x as well. So 2x, that's going to go back on top of my problem. And then we're going to use 2x and multiply it to the 3x plus 4. So when you do that, we'll get 6x squared plus 8x. And we'll take this product and put it underneath the problem. 6x squared plus 8x. I noticed in most people's work earlier, as I was helping them out, that a lot of people mess up the subtraction step. So you got to be careful. When you subtract, the first terms are always going to cancel. I think we get that. But the second term, you got to remember you're subtracting 8. So you're changing the sign here. You know, purposely, you got to think of this as minus 8. So think of it's like negative 1. I know it's plus 8, but we're subtracting an 8. So it's negative 1 minus 8, which of course will be negative 9. Negative 9x will bring the 1 down. Start from the beginning, the first term on the inside, which is now negative 9x, divided by the first term on the outside, which is 3x. That's going to equal negative 3. The x's cancel. That negative 3 goes on top. And we take that negative 3 and we multiply it to the polynomial on the outside, which is 3x plus 4. So distribute, we'll have negative 9x minus 12. And we'll take that product, we'll put it back in the problem, negative 9x minus 12. But don't forget, we're still subtracting. So the first terms cancel. Now when we subtract the negative 12, functionally it's going to be a positive or plus. So think of that more as 1 plus 12, which is 13. 13 is my remainder. So let's write my full answer out. We're going to have x squared plus 2x minus 3, and then plus 13 over 3x plus 4, since that's my remainder. Okie dokie. So again, just let's highlight a few things to pay attention to here. We always divide the first term by the first term, and the answer to that, let's get the highlighter going. Okay, we'll use red, sure. I was hoping for yellow, but we're good. X squared, 2x, and negative 3, all results of division and all results in the answer. All of them were used to multiply, and we multiplied to the same thing every time. We multiplied to 3x plus 4 every single time. And whenever we got that answer, which was 3x to the third plus 4x squared, that went in the problem. 6x squared plus 8x, that went in the problem. And then negative 9x minus 12, that went in the problem. So everything's repeating, okay? Everything kind of goes back again and again and again. So it's a long problem, yes, but you're doing the same thing repeated times, multiple times. So in that sense, it's a little bit easier to remember. Okay, you just have to remember 4 steps that you do over and over and over again. Just be very careful in subtracting. That's a big mistake a lot of people make. All right, so let's move on to the synthetic division problems. I'm going to do number 5 and then number 7. All right, but let's talk about the setup. The main thing here is the setup. The math is not necessarily as tricky as just making sure it's set up properly. So to set it up, synthetic division, we always start, there's this little box on the top left corner. That contains my A value. Now my A value comes from this, okay, but it's opposite of that. That's a negative 4, but I'm going to use a positive 4 as my A value. And now out next to it, on the right side, we're going to have the coefficients from the polynomial we're dividing from. So we'll have 1 for 1x to the third, then we'll have negative 2 for negative 2x squared, the negative 10 from negative 10x, and then a positive 8. Skip a little bit of space because you are going to have some numbers underneath those numbers, and put a little line. All right, so now that's just a setup. You have your a value, it's opposite from this guy here. Then you have your coefficients from your polynomial. So when you work it out, you always bring the first term down. That doesn't change. So that 1, bring it down, it stays as 1. Now anything that goes underneath this line, we're going to multiply to my a value. So I have 1, I'm going to multiply it to 4, because that's my a value. 1 times 4 is 4. I'm going to put that answer under the next term so I can add them together to get the next number that goes below the line. So there's a 4, negative 2 plus 4 is going to be positive 2. So that's the answer to that addition. Now I'm going to take that 2, multiply it to my a value. 2 times 4 is 8. I'm going to put that 8 under the next term and add them. Negative 10 plus 8 will be negative 2. Now we take the negative 2, multiply that to my a value, and that's going to be negative 8. So we're adding, I know we're adding, but we're adding a negative, so just think of it as subtracting. 8 minus 8 is 0. All right, and now that is my remainder. So what I remember doing is mark the last digit as your remainder. That makes the next one over your constant, then the next one over your x, and then the next one over your x squared. So if you're going to write this all out, we have 1x squared, which you can just write as x squared, plus 2x minus 2, and then your remainder is 0, so you don't have to write it. But if you were to write the remainder, if it's something else, you'll put the remainder, in this case 0, over, kind of like you did in the previous long division problem, over that, x minus 4. Now again, since it's 0, we don't actually need this, okay? We can just leave it as this guy here. But if it's not 0, you would write it something like that fraction. All right, now number 7, the last one we'll do today. This one, you have to be very careful in how you set it up. I'm picking this one intentionally because the setup is a bit goofy. Not goofy, it's the same, but there's something you gotta pay attention to. So the same thing, we're gonna have the box in the top left with my a value, and that comes from this. Now it's gonna be a positive 3. We always change that sign. The a value is opposite of that, minus 3. It's positive 3. So now the coefficients, this is where you gotta be careful because, notice, we're missing a term in our polynomial. We don't have any x squared terms. So that means we have a 0x squared term. I have to make sure I include that in my coefficients. So I have a 2 for 2x to the third, then a 0 for the x squared term that's not there, then the negative 15 for negative 15x, then the negative 6. So a lot of people will forget to include that 0, and it's very important that you include it because if you don't, well, you're wrong. So we want to make sure we do it correctly. But now the same pattern as the last problem. We bring the first term down. Never changes. But you take whatever is below that line, you're going to multiply it to a. All right, so we got 2. We're going to multiply it to 3 since that's the a value. 2 times 3 is 6. We'll bring that up here. We'll add that to 0. 0 plus 6 is 6. Cool. Now we'll take 6 and multiply it to 3. 6 times 3 is 18. We'll add that up. Negative 15 plus 18 is 3. Now we'll take 3 multiplied to the a value 3, which is 9. And negative 6 plus 9 is going to be 3. All right, so there's my remainder. This will make my constant, my x, and my x squared term. So when I write this out, I'll have 2x squared plus 6x plus 3, and then my remainder, since it's 3, it'll be 3 over x minus 3. And again, this part that I'm writing it over is always the same as this, whatever the divisor was. Okay? And of course, 3 is the remainder, which is why there's those there. All right, folks, I'm going to end it there. I'll let you guys finish the rest. I just wanted this to be more of a reminder video rather than a teaching type of video, but because I know it's been a while. All right, I'll cut it there. We'll see you in the next one, guys. I'll do part 3 in the next video. Okay? Later.